Alright everybody, we are back with the next match. Ruby Wolves facing Divine Dead in the qualifiers of the Winter Circuit 2023. We are back on the Cold Tower after the nurse has been moved from Rancid Abattoir, which was originally the map for this event, to the Cold Tower after the developers have announced some changes here. We do see a barbecue and chili as well. Spicy in the perk combination there. We said in the background that's a very surprising build here, so let's see if Varsity is able to make something out of it. It doesn't seem to be the case so far. Edge map Andy so far avoiding the first hit, but now eventually the first injury is coming through, and it's not going to end quickly, unfortunately. So this is going to be a longer run, approaching towards the 60-second mark. Next double blink coming out from our nurse, and once again not finding the down here. Spoker, my beloved co-caster for today. I don't think this is the first chase you're looking for, especially when it's in the corrupted area.
But Varsity really followed it up really well there with that down. But we saw some amazing mind games in chase from that Ash, which is always really nice to see against a killer that has no counterplay, according to Twitter. But the first gen is going to get completed here as we get that hook into the basement to start off the match. It is true that that first chase was in that corrupted area, as you were saying, Dyer, but to be able to utilize this basement and all the gen spawns that you very consistently get around the top side of the map here is definitely something that's going to be reckoned with, I would say.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, right? You can potentially one or two generators can be popped here, and you still kind of feel a little bit safe on a map like Cold Tower, where the nurse can gain a lot of control here. We can see that half of the first hook stage has already been expired, and the basement doesn't really make that easy. We now know as well that there's one survivor at the bottom side of the Cold Tower, so it could just be one more teammate that is rotating in, and that seems to be the case. And if that's the Deliverance player as well, that would be even more difficult for Ruby Wolves now. Not even an injury when returning to the basement here, so things do not really go according to the plan here. Same goes for the Firecracker, however, next blink, and a wonderful stun by Divine Dead here, serving the juice now as well, and our killer slowly feeling the pressure and getting a little bit nervous, I would say.
Even gonna elect to drop the chase here as well on your tunnel out while all the other survivors are healthy. This is crazy because Varsity is now being forced to have to try and get some slowdown onto these gens. A little bit of a misplaced flashlight from the ace here, who's going to be taking this chase down towards the shack side of the map here. There we go. That beamer comes through. We get that blind and that deny of power for a bit longer. And the dead hard preemptively comes out, unfortunately, which will make this chase a lot shorter than it really should have been. So we're going to be seeing Ace getting hooked at that shack side of the map, as we see that there is a gen that is about to pop, but I don't think Varsity's going to be able to get there in time.
Now it's going to be more and more the pressure of Divine Dead that is taking over here on the Cold Tower. Look at this generator as well, 80% already. The pop goes to Weasel, and the Call of Brian is a very, very needed tool here. And let's go back to the perk combination here. We have seen the barbecue, a perk that really gets its value after hooking someone. Pop goes to Weasel, getting its value after hooking someone. And even Call of Brian is a perk that requires hooking survivors, because you need to have a good pressure across the map to make Call of Brian work and regress these generators. So from what I see so far, Spoker, I don't really think this was the right perk combination for how the game is going. I feel like our nurse could have really used one of these endgame perks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there, honestly. I don't hate the build at all, like from an analytics standpoint, but just with how the state of this game has gone, it obviously isn't showing its full potential. It is a bit of a shame to see a bit of a lack of end game perks here, for example, like a No Way Out to help get that extra time in the end game. But we are going to spot out Quentin stealthing around the main building here, trying to stay in optimal positioning for these chases that have been happening bit of a whiff from Varsity there in this chase here. That would have been another fresh hook, but obviously, because there's no way out or anything like that, we don't really need to go out of our way to ensure that we're getting all these fresh hooks. So if we do get the Call of Brine good skill check notifications, we know someone's around here. We know that this is probably going to be the last gen to pop, as number 4 has already come through.
And now comes the bad news on top of what you just described. This is the set of Ruby Wolves. This is the killer they picked and came in here to play this best of 3 with a very confident opener. And now with Killsap being fully reset and 4 healthy survivors from Divine Dead being back in the trial, this is going to look worse and worse here. 2 hook stages so far. Call of Brine doing a little bit of work here on the top right side next to the main building. We can see they are already around, potentially setting up all 4 survivors here and then going in all together. The Adam already in the main building here, and that triggers Quentin to take a little sprint towards the generator. This one here is still untouched. So yeah, it is going to be still not easy for the survivors, but even in a difficult spot, they manage to dodge the nurse attacks and make it a whiff. He has a wonderful 3-gen, let's say that. Divine Dead, with all the pressure they had, they haven't taken enough attention onto this generator setup, so now they are a little bit punished here, but the nurse will need to punish them for creating this 3-gen setups. If this is not resulting in injuries or downs, it's still going to be really, really rough.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Varsity to be able to commit to a chase here, just purely because of how much progress this gen right over here has, that we've just seen him kick with the Call of Brine. But yeah, this is probably one of the strongest 3-gen setups you could get on the Coal Tower if you are a killer like the Nurse who can just teleport up to the main building. So there's not really very many killers that can really capitalize on how strong this setup is, and Divine Dead is really going to have to be very meticulous and methodical with how they play out this trial here in order to break this 3-gen. But we're probably going to see some assistance with the flashlight here. Yeah, trying to deny Blinks, break that line of sight with that survivor, and we're getting the Call of Brine notification, so we know that we have to go back to this gen. But that first blink not quite getting the distance that we needed to get up there, and also because of that blink dead zone with the stairs. But we see that the other gen that has been neglected is the one that is going to be completed to break up this 3-gen. Let's see how this endgame plays out.
Yeah, and now we are with it, right? Endgame versus Edge Map Andy once again, who avoids the hit here, and there's no way out, but even then the no one escapes death would have probably been the better choice here. But now you do take a lot of time chasing this survivor, and if this door on the right side is currently being opened, that could be difficult for our killer. That's going to be a stun now, so a little bit of distance, but still the injury. You need to hit this one, but once again you're stuck in here, but it does end in the down on this survivor. 3 Divine Dead players already out of the door here, so it ends in 1 more hook, and that is going to be a little bit of a point jump, because our wonderful Ash here is worth 2 more stages, so 4 stages overall now. We talked about Coal Tower being a strong map, and we talked about the Nurse being a strong killer, so 4 stages from the survivor side of Divine Dead. Here's an absolute phenomenal result, and Ruby Wolves will have to play an even better survivor game in the upcoming trial.
Alrighty, welcome on back in, everyone. We just saw that Ruby Wolves were only able to manage to get a 4 stage in the last trial here, so now we're going to be seeing Divine Dead on the killer side, on the Nurse here, and again, we're going to be seeing a Corrupt on the top side of the map, and already a very early hit onto the Ace, onto Winter Edit. Beautiful work, but unable to dodge that one. What a beautiful set of blinks from our killer here, and this is going to be a very, very, very quick down to start off the trial. Now, before we progress here, I do want to talk about how the build that we're going to be seeing here from our killer is going to be a lot more, well, interesting to say the least. We do have some Noed in there for the end game. Another beautiful hit and a very quick unhook. But we are, again, obviously going to be seeing Corrupt, Call of Brine, but Overcharge. How do you feel about that, Dyer? Ooh.
Oh, nice dead hard there from the team captain Ephemeral. Yeah, the overcharge is an interesting one, right? Because I was expecting... I don't even know what I was expecting, but overcharge is something that throws me off like a barbecue, to be honest. So maybe a sloppy butcher, maybe a pop goes to weasel, something like that, since eruption is banned on the nurse. But overcharge is an interesting one. What's also interesting is the no one escapes death, right? Because it does show us the difference how Ruby Wolves and Divine Dead are coming into this match. Usually, when you see a nurse with 4 stages or 5 stages win condition, you would never expect a no one escapes death, because this task is considered relatively easy to achieve. And still, Divine Dead is picking the no one escapes death in case something is going wrong, knowing that the nurse can apply an insane pressure in the endgame with high mobility and speed. And the fact that they are still taking no one escapes death does prove to me that Divine Dead does really want to win the qualifier and wants to take a little bit of safety when approaching their task here. And Ruby Wolves came in with a risky one. They were putting together the barbecue, Call of Brine and Pop, which requires hook stages, which requires pressure, and that didn't pay out. So I have to say, I really like the mindset from Divine Dead, playing it calculated, playing it calm, even though they're in a good position. And we can already tell that it was definitely the right call here.
Yeah, and I think another thing that really just goes hand in hand with that is just how consistent Kurzev has been on the nurse here. Not a single whiff so far, as opposed to our killer from Ruby Wolves. These chases have just been astronomically short, and it's really going to show how much pressure it's going to be applying onto this trial here. We've already met the tie condition, and not a single gen has been able to pop yet, just because of the sheer amount of map pressure with these chases, being able to just have that insane mobility while simultaneously being able to keep the survivors off the objective is just unmatched.
Yeah, and now he can kind of vibe here in the bottom area. He has the hook stage. He just needs to camp Yatos right now to achieve the 5th hook stage and the win in set number 1. We do see the first generator being completed in the distance there, so 2 points going to Ruby Wolves, but technically you need to get this survivor off the hook, and that would already be the final stage you can allow here. Nice dead hard once again. Yatos is going to come from the hook there, and it's going to be a little bit of Minecraft playstyle now from Kurzev. Plus 5 stone, not catching the team captain here, but still going after her, blinking behind the hill and finding her behind the tree here. So that's going to be the hook stage that definitely decides the winner here in set number 1. And Divine Dead still has their picked killer for set number 2 here. So I think you couldn't be in a better position.
Yeah, this really is just... Divine Dead has set themselves up for a almost flawless victory here, and I think the big majority, the biggest factor that has really played into this is just how insane the first chase was from the Ashe from the last game. So I'm gonna just preemptively give out my little Spoker MVP award to that Ashe, because the start of the game against a nurse on a map like Cold Tower is going to determine the entire game. You need to be able to very consistently get that first down, get a decent hook location, as 9 times out of 10 your first chase is going to go to the corrupt part of the map. You can hold a really nice 3-gen for the late game there, and all the cogs start turning from there. So we're going to be seeing hook stage number 6 as the 3rd gen gets done. We're seeing some resets happening across the way as well. So Ruby Wolves is still trying to keep up with the pressure and get as much of the objective done as possible.
And it's a good one for the mindset, right? If you would get all the generators done here before the nurse is going to 4K, maybe even an escape, because the situation still looks good. There's no survivor dead here, so you still have this split gen pressure across your team, so you can still make that work. I believe if you would get an out here, that would be really important for your motivation and your mindset for the upcoming set, because that kind of tells you, okay, if we play an organized and well planned out survivor game, we can keep the killer of Divine Dead under control here. So it's something to achieve for the Ruby Wolves, but this chase will need to last a little bit longer, but unfortunately it's going to be the next confident double blink here to get the Lori down onto the floor here. We do see potentially a few resets there in the distance, using this little bit of time Yatos caused by going behind the main building, but they do stick to the generator here. Understandable, because the game is on edge, but I can only hope it doesn't backfire here.
Yeah, I'm hoping so as well, but we gotta keep in mind as well that our Nancy Rats does have Deliverance active, and if they were to be the ones to take the chase now, a bit of an interesting whiff there, but if Nancy were to be able to be the one to take the chase right now, which I think might be what we're seeing right now, then that could be the time that the survivors need to either get the resets going and make something happen from that. Couldn't hold the beamer for long enough though, unfortunately, and I'm being told that the deli has already been used, so that's a bit of a mistake on my part, unfortunately.
Shame on you, Spoker, but I didn't notice it either, so you're fine. It's just, I mean, we can blame the killer of Divine Dead here, because with this speed, they are downing, hooking, and pressuring these survivors. There's no chance to keep up with everything that happens in the trial so quickly here, so it's a little blame and also a compliment to the killer of Divine Dead here. Catching the next survivor, 3 of them currently injured, and that's a very, very quick down onto Winter Edit here. Ephemeral, the only healthy survivor at the moment, so once again, the difficult question for them, will they go for a reset here, take a little bit of time out, or will they go for the next generator? They go for the next gen. They still double up on the gens, so as soon as the nurse is coming over there, she will be able to interrupt 2 people, and there's 1 injured one as well, so potentially quick down leading into the slug. Heading over towards the shack here. Shack is just going to be a little tile. We are holding W through, and that's ooh, an interesting mind game.
That's really not what you want to be seeing, but we do have the pallet save coming through. That's though, why. I guess a lot of things make a bit more sense now, but unfortunately it will be benign. But with all of our survivors being dead hook at this stage of the game, if you get caught, that's it, you're done. So the pressure is really going to be building on for our last 2 survivors here, if they're going to be able to get the final generator done or not. And with the second elimination happening already, I don't know if it's going to be possible if we are going to be seeing some escapes here, Dyer.
Yeah, I doubt it as well. You might want to try an endgame play here with the hatch or one of the exit gates. You don't have to lose anything. If you would get one of the doors, it's great to have that escape for your mental resources and your mindset for the upcoming trial. You could just try it. Cursive is confident though that there's 1 survivor up here on the main building, but it seems like they already left, meeting at shack potentially for a reset now onto Yatos, and Cursive will potentially search this area for a little bit longer, since there was good pressure up here, but there's going to be the next scratch mark already, so the reset doesn't happen. Instead, the survivors kind of splitting up once again here, a little bit surprising to me, but now it's going to be on the shoulders of the team captain.
Yeah, and our killer here is going to try their best to try and take that hook over to where the hatch is going to spawn at the shack, and also where this gen has been cranking away. It might even get done here, just allowing the wiggle off to happen as that final gen gets completed. I'm not too sure if that was the best thing to do, but I mean, I'm just the caster. I'm not the one playing killer here. And with that Noah totem spawn as well, actually, I think our Nia is going to be able to see where that spawns, but at this point, she's kind of zoned to this back part of the map with nowhere to really go, so let's see if our killer is going to be able to find her before anything else happens.
Yeah, let's see if she can pull this stealth ephemeral here. It's going to be in the locker, and I believe our killer does predict that. At least he's listening, and there she is! Omega headset from Divine Dead. Best hardware around, it seems like. And yeah, that's a very, very clear result. We've seen a 3-man escape from Divine Dead. We've seen a 4K on their behalf, so this is going to be Divine Dead taking set point number 1 here. Now, we do face the next killer, which is going to be the one from Divine Dead, and that is going to be the Plague. So, Spoker, what's your prediction?
Well, look, it's like this, right? I'm not really too familiar with the skill level of both our teams here on Plague specifically, but seeing that it is Divine Dead's pick of Killer, and honestly, of all the matches that I've been seeing lately, it seems that most teams have been losing set points on their own Killer pick. Almost as if teams are sort of aware of what killers teams are more powerful with and that sort of thing, you know? So I guess I could see a scenario where Ruby Wolves does take the Plague set, but if Divine Dead were to keep up with the pressure that they've been showing us in these trials here, then I could also see Divine Dead taking a clear win here as well.
And what you just said, that there's a dynamic or a trend that teams are more often losing their own picked killers, which is indeed true. It did increase. That's something we should discuss at a later point. Welcome back, everyone, to the second set between Ruby Wolves and Divine Dead in the qualifiers of the Winter Circuit 2023. It's the Plague on the Suffocation Pit, kinda her home map in competitive Dead by Daylight. Very nice to play out, offers a lot for the survivors. It's a large map, you can run to one or the other side depending on where the 3 or 4 gen is located. On the other hand, the killer can get a lot, kinda similar to ARP. You have a choke point you can hold once you have force the survivors into a mistake of being on the wrong side. You can just hold it and take control over who's crossing and who is behind you. We do see a few pukes, none of them finding the target just yet, and we are chasing deep in Corrupt, so this looks way better than the first chase earlier and the first seconds also on the killer game of Ruby Wolf, so it seems like they've picked up the early game here.
Yeah, I feel like our Plague here is doing a really good job at setting up, but not quite hitting those. But yeah, no, our Plague is doing a good job of setting up contagious on windows, gens, pallets, to try and just force as many survivors to get infected as quickly as possible, even managing to get it through those 2 trees there as well. Through a needle through the haystack, getting that hit through the pallet as well onto Winter Edit, getting that pallet drop, that resource will be taken out later on in the trial, but the chase is now being taken to the main building side of the map here, which is obviously away from the Corrupt side of the map, so this is where you would want to be as the killer. So we're going to try and get a little bit more pressure onto these active gens and force the survivors to get infected by trying to repair them before they regress a lot.
Call of Brian and Eruption here, and a very harsh setup, I would say. On the top side here, this one is going to be a difficult one, and at the bottom side also a very difficult one. So our killer here with a very good suffocation pit. Great mind games coming out from Ruby Wolf survivor Winter Edit, who's now heading over towards the main building here. Good work from them so far, and our killer is leaving the area. Tree Trick decides this has taken a little bit too long. Our Lorry is leaving early enough, but not aware that the Plague is just going around, and that's now going to be a free down. That was unfortunate. Zoning yourself back towards the main building would have been an option there, because you still have resources to make the chase a little bit longer. Now Tree Trick has what he looked for, a down and a hook on the top side here. So Ruby Wolves again with a difficult situation here, and definitely an advantage for Divine Dead.
Yeah, this is definitely a really good way to start off a play game. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to quite get rats infected as of just yet, so it would have been so much more devastating as we are grabbing the corruption now. Having all the survivors injured at this point, meaning no one can really go for that unhook unless a cleanse were to happen. Otherwise, it would just be a complete trade. So Tree Trick is free to just sort of force the stages here while also keeping a good eye on these gens. But I wouldn't be too surprised if we were to see our Nancy being the one to go for the rescue, as they are the only healthy survivor right now. We are going to be seeing that No Way Out is going to be gaining some stacks as well, as these gens on the shack side are buzzing along, as 2 of them have already been completed.
2 generators completed is indeed a really, really good start, with a lot of pressure here in exchange for potentially just 2 hook stages in a few seconds here. Trick has not been successful with the power yet, but I need to watch out that I'm not jinxing it here. Caster's Curse. We know that a lot of things you do talk about arise in the next few seconds here, so WeWolves needs to be careful. The difficulty would be if Yatos would die here instantly, because then you're in a 3v1 scenario with 3 generators still to go. But considering that we just saw the Plague picking up the power again, it's going to be more and more difficult now. This is a very important generator there in the back of the main building on the left side, so it's very good that WeWolves got rid of that objective here in exchange for the potential elimination. And Spoker, I don't really see a chance for this poor guy being saved here.
Yeah, I'm losing hope as all the seconds go by here as well, but I do want to note how impeccable of a job Ruby Wolves has done to be able to break any sort of 3-gen on both sides of the map with a very nice 2-2 split on either side. Obviously, these gens are very far apart from each other, and we are going to be seeing gen number 4 getting completed any second now on the Shack side, unless Trick is able to interrupt it, which unfortunately is not going to be the case. We are going to be chasing a survivor off of this gen though, and with 2 gens being on the main side right now, we should be seeing a survivor attacking that side as the chase goes down at the water tower here.
Yeah, this is, you pointed it out. You pointed out this triangle WeWolves created here on the suffocation pit, and this map can be really punishing, and it can also be a huge advantage towards you when you do everything correct. A little bit of time issue there to already turn back to the normal infection and not the corrupted purge here. Now Trick has to go a little bit around between the generators and check where the progress is located. There's a lot of percentage already in this generator here, so hopefully our survivor can put up a little bit of a longer chase here and keep the killer busy. 40% also on the generator down here. Winter added in the meanwhile in the mind games at the main building, leaving it when in doubt, holding W. He's beautifully doing that towards the next filler pallet here in these box tiles, and dropping it early as well, not taking too much risk here. So I really like what WeWolves is showing us right now. They're playing coordinated, they're playing safe.
Ooh.
I guess that was Caster's Curse.
You were mentioning it earlier as well. Caster's Curse is a real thing that everyone needs to be aware of. So we did manage to get some eruption going off all across the map, but I don't think we were able to get any incapacitations, unfortunately, as our survivors are already preparing on the exit gates, as this last gen on the Shack side should be getting completed any second now. But I think we do also see that our killer is going to be able to interrupt this final gen, as our team captain is going to be able to sprint burst away and try and take a chase at the Shack here. We do also see the unhook coming across from the other side of the map here, so now the tides have really turned here as the Shack side is now in control of Trick.
This side is in control indeed, and we do see that our survivor does manage, however, to drop the pallets here and keep the killer under control. You do sacrifice some valuable resources though, so this should be exchanged with generators flying, at least the last generator here, because then we are already in the end game with only 2 tokens on the no way out as well. And Trick now maybe getting a little bit nervous here, hesitating where the survivor is, losing track of them. Nice mind game once again, but it's evolved back into a locket juke. We are collecting a little bit here for Ephemeral's YouTube channel, but it will be the next down into the basement. But exactly what I mentioned, the exchange with the generator would be really good, leaving the generator as well to be a little bit quicker at the exit gate for these 3 no way out stacks now. So 48 seconds longer in this trial. Trick knows there's 1 survivor on the top side, so 1 basically needs to sneak behind the killer and save Ephemeral from the hook here. So a lot of coordination task, I would say, for our survivor team.
Yeah, this is really looking like it's going to pan out like a fairly by-the-book endgame that needs to be played here, as we see that Winter Edit is going to be spotted at the main building, but not going to commit there, as we do see, I believe that's our Nancy going for a balanced landing play at the hill here. So both of our survivors have been located, which is really, really bad for Ruby Wolves, because now Trick is free to just hold this choke point and make sure no one rotates over, and then head on in as the no way out expires, which is exactly what's going to be happening right now. So Trick needs to be very careful to keep tabs on both of our survivors so that no one can rotate over in time for the rescue. And why is there no hand railing there? Poor Plague is going to fall off at the main building there, which gives Ace the opportunity to rotate back around and get that save, and most likely get the door open too.
Now Trick losing time here with Rats, who's doing a wonderful job on this pallet. Rats, a former player for Team Golden Wolves here, taking responsibility with the end game chase and keeping Trick under control. A nice stun as well. This was a very, very important one. This is now going to be the next one. Bloodlust potentially kicking in, and that's going to be the down, but that should guarantee 2 survivors to walk out of the door here. Winter Edit is going to cleanse just for the points. You want to be a little better on the scoreboard there, and Ephemeral still around. Interesting here, they potentially try to do a flashlight save because Rats was a fresh hook, so that's a 10-point swing. If Rats is dying, there's 7 points for the kill and 3 points denied from the escape here, as we do award 3-2-2 for the killer and 3-1 for the escapes. I do think the best call right now is if Winter and Ephemeral are just leaving. Of course, Rats would be up to 8 stages then, not the end game result you're looking for maybe, but compared to the Nurse, I do believe you take what you get, right?
Yeah, I 100% have to agree with you there, Trick, and I agree with you. But no, that was really, really well how that end game got played out, and I'm really, really excited to see how Ruby Wolves is going to retaliate on the killer side as we're going to be loading into the next game. All right, and welcome on back in, everyone, for the qualifiers of the Winter Circuit 2023, as I would like to say. But it can all come down to this. We've seen Divine Dead go on an absolute killing spree with their trials today, and now that we're going to be seeing Divine Dead on the survivors side here, after being able to pull off an 8-stage game with only 2 Ruby Wolves escaping, we're going to have to really see how this one goes and if they're going to be able to take that 2-0 set sweep, as we're going to be seeing the first chase happening a bit quicker than what we saw in the last game. The chase is going to be taken over to Shaq, and we're going to get some nice infect onto our Ace here. Now, as this is the corrupt side, we're going to head back over to this non-corrupt 4-gen, which is fairly nice to see, but the gens are still fairly split up on this part of the map here, so I wouldn't be surprised if our killer here is just going to try and go for infections here. Not going to be able to hit the balanced landing player until even still dodging it out here. Oh my goodness, Trick is doing an insane job in the chase here, not even wasting the pallet here either.
Yeah, you can tell that he is the experienced Plague that just took the previous trial for Divine Dead here, managing to dodge the power or the infection twice. We do see another survivor here, the Ash, who was showing up really strong earlier in the first chase against the Nurse of Ruby Wolves. And it does continue around this tile here once again, not the infection. So Ruros really struggles to get this early pressure down. Now it's going to happen, but a few crouch attacks throwing the killer off a little bit further here. We have 3 injuries and infections right now, so it's kind of a similar start than the other Plague trial where we had 1 survivor not being infected for a long time. So it really comes down to the question, what is Cannell going to do for the Ruros? Is he maybe even able to achieve a down? Will he find the 4th survivor for applying the infection? Or is Divine Dead going for some generators here and getting them out? We do see the power, which is when you don't have a survivor in reach, quite risky because they could pull back and hide it out.
And especially to add on to that as well, we're not going to be seeing our killer here using the amulet add-on, which obviously makes the power last another 20 seconds longer. But that was a very beautiful down to start off the power here and to get a hook in a fairly good gen location here, as gens are going to be getting done on the main side. But we do also see some pressure on the Shack side that we should be able to see regress. Are we going to make it to this hook here though? Just barely. That could have been very, very close, but Yeah, a very interesting start to kick it off as Rancor is going to get revealed to the survivors here, and our killer's going to be able to get some good info of where everyone is located.
Yeah, our killer gains some very beautiful info here, but 2 generators already gone in exchange for just 1 hook stage so far. So Milston is the one that potentially facing himself being camped, but it does seem like Cannell decides to hold the choke point here to put a little bit further pressure onto the survivor. Notices now that someone was trying to go towards the bottom side on the right hand of the midsection here, so he has to pull a little bit back. This drops him checking the generators and his pressure on the generators. They're not in reach anymore, so I think this survivor is considering we have 70 to 75 seconds until death. I think they could sacrifice Milston here and take a few generators out.
Yeah, I 100% have to agree with you here. And even though the survivors don't know it yet, No Way Out is going to be coming into play as well. So if you can deny those chases for as long as possible just to opt to get the gens completed instead, then you're really going to be doing your team a lot of favors here, as we do manage to get that infect onto the Quentin, who is working on a gen on the shack side in the killer's face, basically, is really nice to see. And the awesome thing about this hook as well, Dyer, is that we have the power right next to the hook as well. And here we're going to be utilizing and trying to make some magic happen with it, as gen number 3 has just been completed.
Yeah, making magic happen is a very good description for the situation we see right now. I really like that, because even though Milston is about to die, for some reason I still feel like Divine Dead has this under control. It might be their little bit quicker speed and efficiency on the generators. It might be that they have shown us that dodging the infection and playing the pallets really, really smart. Something tells me that Divine Dead is not done just yet because Milston dies, even though you really love to see the 3, 1 and 2 generators left. But this down onto Tree Trick right after Milston is now eliminated from the trial. That's a huge one. And it will be a long way to travel for the survivors. The difficult news is you have this hook stage away from the generators. Another very, very good play that Divine Dead did here, pulling the killer away from the objectives and therefore making sure that the killer is losing a lot of time here. So it's a back and forth. It's on edge. I see both teams able to take trial number 2 here, or set number 2. I believe Cannell needs another down in the next 20 to 30 seconds. Otherwise, it's going to be too rough.
Yeah, and unfortunately with the power expiring as well, we're not going to be able to get that easy down onto the Ash here. We need to zone him on the opposite side of this pallet here, which actually, no, we're going to see a sprint burst getting 99 by the Ash here, being able to make it all the way to shack window, and is going to be able to waste just so much more time here in chase. Is so lovely to see, but a really nice mind game comes through, and we manage to get the down without having to worry about the shack pallet. Tree Trick and Kirzep are both still injured and fully infected as well, though. This gen being so close to being completed, but going to get forced off here as Call O'Brien is going to get reapplied here. Now, I'm not too sure if we're going to go straight for the pickup here. We are actually. No one is there for the pallet save, and we're going to try and hook this survivor as close to that objective as possible to be able to simultaneously pressure the both of them. Now, we do need to note as well that we have the obsession on the hook right now, and obviously with the Rancor pick, that would be instant death when that last gen gets done. But I guess you are more or less a little bit safe for the duration that you're on the hook. So knowing this, the survivors may opt to just go for the objective and leave Ash on the hook here. So it's something to keep in mind for the killer.
Yeah, I have to agree. The sacrifice of this survivor in exchange for generators is definitely an option. The difficult thing is we would be on 7 stages then. So after this survivor would be sacrificed, you need to play basically a perfect game. And now that was interesting. They're keeping the generator on 99, making the killer believe there are still 2 generators in the trial and playing a little bit with their feeling of confidence and safety. So that is a very, very interesting play here by Divine Dead, which are now rotating over, cleansing first, making the killer actually believe the generators are under control. Still 2 to go, having time for the cleanse, and now going onto this generator here in the corner. So that it will be interesting if this mind game actually turns out. This generator, I feel like they've kind of given up on, so it's the one further in the distance there. We do see second stage on our survivor, so 30 seconds away. I don't think our solo survivor will be able to complete that generator, so Divine Dead very soon in a 2-1 scenario as well.
Yeah, now we are going to be seeing that Quentin is going to be trying to get that rescue, but is going to be pushed back by getting infected by the plague here, and yeah, that's just not going to be able to come through. So this is going to be time that is unfortunately going to be going to waste, which could have been spent doing another gen that was on the shack side, which we previously saw Adam working on here. It was a really nice play in theory to 99 the first gen, which we are going to be seeing get pops now, revealing the location of our Adam working on this hill gen, but I just don't think the time was there to make the play work, as the survivor already being in second stage with an almost full generator that needs to be completed. That 90 seconds compared to 40-45 seconds of hang time for the survivor is just not adding up, unfortunately. So that's hook stage number 7 coming through. No way out in the back pocket, and Rancor to get some info when that last gen pops. So this is looking like Ruby Wolves is going to be able to get the set point here.
Ruby Wolves actually pulling this back is a very impressive comeback from them, and it would prove what you talked about earlier, Spoker, that the teams start to lose the killers they picked themselves. Ruby Wolves lost the nurse, and Divine Dead potentially loses the plague here, which would all bring it down to the Wraith on the Dead Dog Saloon. That would be our tiebreaker here. A nice mind gaming though from Divine Dead. This is exactly the seconds you need for that final generator. Once again, a nice vault here. I think the killer was not quite expecting it, but camping the survivor would be theoretically enough to achieve the win condition here, so they better don't go down. And this is a very nice chain into the shack window here, using all of the resources as best as possible, and now rotating over towards the generator actually. So even with just 2 survivors, Divine Dead is able to put pressure onto the killer and put pressure onto their opponent here, which is really impressive, even though I still think it swings towards Ruby Wolves.
Yeah, but we are going to be seeing the our killer for Ruby Wolves is actually going to be rotating away from the generators here to go for the chase onto the Quentin, and with that pallet being dropped and broken, we are going to go back to check up on that generator, knowing that there is no balanced landing at the ready just yet. And our Adam might have been spotted out at the edge here, and yes, he has been. Not going to be able to have enough distance to make it to the shack, just going to be able to have to try and bait out the balanced landing, but not going to be able to happen as that exhaustion still hasn't recovered yet. This is the tie condition stage met here, and honestly, I feel like it's a impossible task for this rescue to happen. We do have our Quentin being a fresh hook, but that is still going to be 9 stages for Ruby Wolves if they were to go for an end game or a hatch play here.
9 stages indeed, and you just need to wait it out now. You just need to have this additional stage to push it into the Wraith set. Our Killsip, I feel a little bit bad for them. Same as Ephemeral in the Nurse game, now the survivor that has it on their shoulders. It would be great once again to get this last generator done, potentially pull something at the fresh survivor to go for an out, just keeping the score at least close together and show if we fight, if we have a good plan, we are coming out with a great score. This would be something you can take into the next set. It would really boost your confidence. And I also think, since Divine Dead will start on the survivor side in set number 3, the tiebreaker set, it would be great to have a little bit of a success here in this end of the second set. Killstep is now rotating towards the shack, waiting at the hatch. Now, I'm not sure if that is enough time for the killer to roll over if they haven't left before, but they did so they will be here at the hatch in time. They will close it, and we can actually put Killstep on the final challenge, I guess, and that would be going down to the end game timer and not to the killer of Ruby Wolves.
Yeah, it's a nice little challenge, almost out of like a Ben and Jerry's cartoon, where you got to try and loop for the entirety of the end game timer here. As we can see, our killer is a lot more laid back, knowing that the win condition has been met. Surely we're going to be seeing some 1v1s at the shack, and here we go. The 1v1 event has started here with our Quentin just wasting as much time as possible at the end game here. But I gotta say, it always is really nice to see the sportsmanship from the players to just be able to still have some fun when, you know, obviously the win condition has been met. It's just messing around for a little bit here, and it's always very wholesome to see.
And now, still on the 1v1 here, the Shack pallet is dropped, so more seconds going towards Divine Dead. You have to survive roughly, let's say 65 seconds here in order to win by dying to the end game timer. Of course, for the score, it doesn't make a difference, since the end game collapse is considered a normal sacrifice by the developers. We're just going with that, so it would award all the points here. But Divine Dead with a reverse stun, basically, even though they have been patched out a long time ago, kind of reminded me of that, since it looked quite similar. This actually works out, and I would really love to see the final survivors able to go down to the end game collapse rather than the killer itself. And I can only say, if Cannell is coming out as the killer for the tiebreaker set, Spoker, if you get run by the last survivor for 2 minutes, that still does something with you.
Yeah, I honestly think it's more so that Cannell doesn't really mind how this little kerfuffle at the end of the trial here is playing out. So we got to get that totem done for the blood points, obviously. But as that timer ticks out, we are going to see that final elimination. To, dare I say, one of the most interesting trials that I think we've seen in this matchup so far. It really did look like it was going both ways. So let's see how the Wraith set goes.
Bonsoir, madame et messieurs. Welcome back to the Dead Dog Saloon with the Wraith, who has to bring the decision between Ruby Wolves and Divine Dead on this very, very known, from some people loved, from some people hated, competitive Dead by Daylight map. We do see usually a strong 3-gen in the Gallows area. We do see a very strong name building. So it has resources for the survivors, it has resources for the killer. It all comes down to the question who gets the early pressure going more quickly, and that seems to be the survivors for now, not taking an injury here and being able to rotate back towards this TNL. It's going to be a quick vault with the bamboozle, and then using this once again and trying to fake this, but it doesn't work out. So very nice first injury here. A sloppy butcher coming in clutch, no corrupt intervention. An interesting one here for this one, but we will seem to learn a little bit from the risk he playstyle on Nurse. Spoker. There's finally, and no one escapes death here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me in the slightest, though, when you're playing a killer like Wraith, who obviously isn't going to be as powerful as Nurse, but we do see that we are going to be able to body block that window perfectly. Not going to fully uncloak, as we see our survivor knows to preemptively spam vault that pallet to try and waste some time. Now, it's really interesting to see, as of all the killers, Wraith has been the killer that I personally have played the most and seen a decent amount of in comp as well. So I really like to overanalyze every sort of situation as they're happening. Now, this is definitely going to be a pallet drop here. Not going to be able to get the tag in this chase, but something that surprises me, of all the times I've seen Wraith on Dead Dog, I've almost consistently seen people bringing the Serpent in combination with Shadow Dance. So it's interesting to see that we are just going to opt for the Swift Hunt to uncloak faster, which is interesting. As Gen number 1 gets completed, we should be seeing the reset somewhat soon. And a beautiful play at the pallet here by the ace. The balls of steel on this one is insane.
Yeah, the add-ons with the faster uncloaking make me think we have one of these hit-and-run Wraith here, because that would really fall in line with the sloppy butcher there. So he's trying to put Divine Dead under pressure, forcing longer healing times, regressing the generators in the meanwhile while they're busy resetting. The issue is once again that you face a very coordinated team on the side of Divine Dead. They have already proven that in the Nurse set, for example, with their insane generator speed, and they also have great mechanical skills, as you just saw on this very beautiful pallet fake right here. So it's once again a confident pick from Ruby Wolves, once again a confident strategy that requires a lot of pressure and well executed game plan, and so far I don't see this happening from the killer of Ruby Wolves. Divine Dead is having everything under control. Divine Dead has 0 hook stages so far, 2 generators done already, so there is no hit and run rate, there is no potential out of the sloppy butcher, and Call of Brine is also not doing the most value right now because the survivors are not busy with unhooking and healing. So once again, this strategy doesn't seem to work just yet.
Yeah, but we are going to be getting those tags across the board though, thankfully. So the question really is Divine Dead just going for as many gens as quickly as possible here, as we see the 3rd gen getting completed, and we are not really going to be able to see the down here just yet, as I thought it should make it back around to the pallet. A bit of a whiff there as well. These whiffs really do add up though, unfortunately, as survivors winning those little mind games in chase just allows that time to be set in stone on those generators, as we're now back to the exact same pallet as before, doing the same things here. Gen number 4 being completed and Quentin getting reset. My goodness.
Now going to be back and forth here. It is going to be Claudette getting the protection by Killstep here. Great coordination by Divine Dead, still keeping it on 0 hook stages so far and working their way over towards this very unsafe pallet, even wasting an additional second here by vaulting it triple, quadra, quintuple times here in the corner. Very, very impressive, managing this one as well. Spoker, we see the survivors serving the juice, as the community would call that. This is insane right here.
Yeah, it's actually, especially this pallet where we're seeing our Claudette go down at. That is almost like one of the most unsafe pallets that you can get on the dead dog. So our survivors hopping off just in case of pain res, as this is the first hook of the trial. There's no way to know for sure as the final gen gets completed, and most of our survivors are injured anyway, so they know it isn't really going to give that much value, as we are going to be chasing a injured Quentin here. Taking the chase back over to this other drop pallet, is going to be able to successfully block it. He has to vault it, and he doesn't vault it quick enough, unfortunately. That is going to be the second down, and this is where things get scary though. The unhook does thankfully happen in time, but yeah, having it down, a slug, and a hooked survivor in close proximity at this point in the trial, with Noed being in play as well, could really have had a play coming out from there, but we are going to get the locker grab onto Ace. We should be seeing the pickup onto our Quentin just now, and all of our survivors are rotating back over towards the door here, which is already ready to be opened here. So obviously we are going to be losing a fresh hooked survivor here, but a 4-stage total to finish off that trial is just... Oh, sorry, 6 stages. Hang on a minute.
6, yeah. We have a little bit in addition there. No, wait, what? Is it a visual bug?
I think it is the visual bug, yeah, because we only got the 1 stage onto our other survivors. So 4 stages to start to finish off this first trial. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's all gonna come down to this, a set point each to Ruby Wolves and Divine Dead, where we've seen that Ruby Wolves only being able to grab 4 stages in the first game. Now, this is giving me some flashbacks to the Nurse set, where we saw the exact same result from our Ruby Wolves killer here, as now Chutrick for Divine Dead is going to be trying to beat that win condition, going to be able to get that tag through that window on the main building here on Laurie, and going to be able to have this time early on to set up the main building, breaking these doors. I'm not too sure about breaking that door, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was just thinking about the same. I was like, is Spoker going to, like, I wasn't entirely sure if this opens up the strong loop, and then you said it, and I was like, well, yeah, I do agree. I think it was not the wall you usually want to break here. So, but yeah, you have the very quick down, right? So potentially you don't really have to worry about this loop, because you mentioned it, 4 hook stages with 5 generators. I mean, we are in the trial for 60 seconds roughly. You have so much time gained to camp this survivor, to patrol the area and force some hook stages here. So I think Divine Dead, the players that are currently spectating their killer, are kind of starting to lean back and say, okay, this is exactly the early game we were hoping for.
I 100% agree here. Wow, I'm surprised that we didn't see our killer fully uncloak here, but still very smartly played by the ace here. Oh! It's so nice to see these pallet standoffs with Wraiths, knowing if they're going to uncloak or not, whether you're going to pre-drop that pallet and give them the resource for free, or whether you're actually going to get that stun, which is exactly what Winter Edit is going to be able to pull off here. Now, how is he going to play this one? Unfortunate is going to be able to get hit around the very short side of that reasonably safe pallet here. Now the chase is going to continue on to the ace though, as we are going to be resetting our previously hooked survivor, and Winter Edit is smart enough to not let that one happen to him, and is going to be able to take the chase over to the main building as the first gen is popping.
Just waiting for the head on there that was potentially hiding in this locker. Very smart here once again. Trick really showing that he has the experience and that he is aware of his surroundings and the potential risks and dangers for the killer here. We are deciding to chase the survivor at the main building. An interesting decision here, because this window is still strong, but the bambooster is going to cut it off a little bit. Will it be enough for this pallet? No! Rats is going down here. I believe that looked quite disgusting on Rats and judging from our spectator perspective, but that's what you have to deal with in Dead by Daylight, and it goes both ways. So Rats is going to be thrown onto the hook here, 2 hook stages in exchange for just 1 generator.
Yeah, Trick's going to be able to get some good regression with the Call of Brine here, as these gens are nice and close to each other as well, in combination with the pick of oh wait, sorry, never mind. I'm thinking of Windstorm for a second. We are seeing Swift Hunt once again, but generator number 2 is going to get completed by the water tower. Now Ace is very cleverly going to be taking the chase by this water tower as well, but unfortunately not going to be able to get the body block from the Nia here in time, and that is going to be another fresh hook for Divine Dead coming through.
And that also is really punishing that this didn't work, right? Because the Nia rotating over here, trying to protect Winter Edit, removed her from one of the generators, and the pressure dropped on the side of Ruby Wolves. And you really need the generator pressure when you are having 3 generators remaining with already 3 hook stages when you scored 4 on your behalf. So you usually want to see your survivors successful with body blocks, and you don't really have space for any mistakes here. 1 more hook would be the tie condition basically, and we do see Rats going into chase once again here. He has no pallet here on this side, so that is just going to be the quick down here. Now I wonder if it's a head-on this time, after Trick was a little bit worried earlier already, and that is indeed the case. Head-on save from Ruby Wolves here. This is now a really nice and really strong coordinated play. Exactly what you were looking for. And there's the body block coming in as well, but there's a little bit of a communication mistake between them. The survivor was expecting Rats to just hold W into the main building while he already took the window here. It took kinda advantage for Ruby Wolves as well, but they have dropped a significant amount of resources at this point, so they need to be careful where they're heading next. And our Lori seems to head into a rough area here.
Yeah, there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot that can be utilized here, and we also do have Nia close by looking to get some action going, as gen number 3 is going to be getting completed. Unfortunately, going to be getting hit through another pallet, and is going to be forced to keep the chase over by these 2 pallets. And Treetrick went for the money and got it. It is insane that there is 3 pallets this close together on this part of the map here. None of them have been dropped and everyone has been getting hit through them.
Yeah, I remember when we Swift last time, Spoker. This was it can be an entire dead zone, right? You can be so lucky or so unlucky with this corner of the Dead Dog Saloon here, and Ruby Wolves got very lucky when we are talking about the resources in this area, but they are not able to turn that into their advantage. In fact, the team captain, Ephemeral, and Yatos both going down, and that also seals the deal here. That is 5 stages for Divine Dead, so they are taking the 2-1 win here, and Divine Dead was always a promising team. They are coming all the way back to the Blood Moon League, where they have made their way into the top 6 teams, and everyone was surprised. And since then, they have been around, showing us time and time again how strong they are. So they will take the place from Ruby Wolves and will be in the Winter Circuit main event. Congratulations, Divine Dead. Looking at them, Spoker, and how they played, I can just say this is an amazing team to watch in the upcoming tournament.
Yeah, no, I 100% have to agree, Dyer, because I do remember from the Blood Moon League, there's not very many names I remember, but Treetrick is a name that does stand out to me, and Divine Dead being a team that stands out to me as well. So it's nice to see that they are going to be in the main stage of the Winter Circuit, and I'm really excited to see what they've got in store for us. And oh my goodness, that would have been filthy if we managed to hit that one there. But oh my goodness, the discipline here is insane at this palette.
Yeah, this is really strong from Ephemeral here, having a long standoff on this relatively unsafe palette. But still, the double slug coming through with Winter added in Ephemeral. That's the final gen by Rats, so a nice finisher for the Ruby Wolves as well, even though this is very likely going to be the final run here for Ruby Wolves survivors. There's no reason to vault that back because he's on the long wall, so Rats once again with good patience here, and we can start the blood... Oh! No bloodlust needed because Rats is already going down. A very intense best of 3, a very nice fight between Ruby Wolves and Divine Dead that concludes in a 2-1. 1 point for Ruby Wolves, 2 points for Divine Dead. They've taken the Nurse and the Wraith, while Ruby Wolves was taking the Plague set from them. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch the Winter Circuit 2023 with Divine Dead being one of the 8 teams in the main event on Twitch TV DBDLeague. Also make sure to like and subscribe and activate the little bell to be aware when we are uploading more videos on YouTube. We have all our VODs, all videos like the qualifiers here, and maybe in the future some interesting analysis for you. So stay tuned. Thank you everyone for watching, and Spoker, we have a little bit of time, even though we usually don't take outros here, but since we are collecting some corpse from the ground of the Dead Dog Saloon, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Honestly, well, it's very early in the morning for me in Australia, right? And I never really expect to be up very early in the morning and to just get a message saying, hey, come cast from the production team of DBDLeague. So it's always an absolute pleasure to be able to share the desk with Direwolf and to be in DBDLeague as well. It truly is an honor for me, that Australian representation in the comp scene here. But I want to make this very clear. When a best of 3 matchup goes to the third set and always results in a 2-1, it really goes to show how similar of a caliber those teams are. Ruby Wolves and Divine Dead were both really good picks to be in the Winter Circuit, but Divine Dead are obviously going to be the ones who take it here. And look at that. We're going to give the hatch to Winter Edit, who is just about to bleed out as well after all that slug searching. So thank you for having me, Dyer, and all the best.